Number 8. 1970 Buick GS Stage 1. Buick engineers didn't care about revving high or sounding dramatic. They cared about torque, and lots of it. The GS Stage 1 packed a massive 455 cubic inch V8 that officially made just 360 horsepower, a number that completely failed to tell the real story. What mattered was the staggering 510 pound-feet of torque delivered almost instantly. The car didn't accelerate politely, it launched violently off the line, overpowering its rear tires and overwhelming most drivers who weren't prepared for it. On long straights, the Stage 1 would bury its nose into the pavement, leaving a trail of smoking rubber and wide-eyed spectators. From a common-sense perspective, building a street car with that much low-end torque and so little traction control was questionable at best. Suspension travel was limited, tires were narrow by modern standards, and even seasoned muscle car drivers found themselves fighting to keep the car pointed straight. But for those brave enough to embrace it, the Stage 1 offered a visceral experience that no mere number on a spec sheet could capture. It was pure, unfiltered muscle, a car that demanded respect and punished hesitation. Number 7. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Nothing about the ZL1 Camaro was reasonable. Chevrolet installed an all-aluminum 427 cubic inch racing engine into a compact pony car, creating a machine that bordered on uncontrollable. Official horsepower ratings were intentionally conservative, but in reality, the ZL1 produced well over 500 horsepower, enough to challenge the laws of physics when paired with its light chassis. The engine was finicky, expensive to maintain, and completely unnecessary for daily driving. Yet that was the point: domination. Dealers and owners alike had to acknowledge that the car wasn't designed for practicality. Every launch risked breaking tires, burning clutches, and testing the nerves of whoever gripped the wheel. Yet that raw edge is what made the ZL1 legendary. It wasn't about comfort or safety, it was a race engine with a street permit, a rolling reminder that muscle cars of the era were built to shock and awe rather than accommodate logic. Number 6. 1968 Dodge Dart Hemi Superstock. The Dodge Dart was supposed to be a sensible, compact car, but Chrysler decided to flip the script entirely, dropping the monstrous 426 Hemi into a light, unassuming body. The result was a factory-built drag racer with a license plate. Interiors were stripped, and features like comfort, visibility, and refinement were afterthoughts at best. Weight distribution was brutal, rear traction unpredictable, and the steering could surprise even experienced drivers. On public roads, the Dart Hemi was awkward and intimidating. On the drag strip, it was devastating. Every launch was violent, every gear shift, a negotiation with physics itself. Chrysler wasn't aiming to create a daily driver. They were creating a car that could dominate races immediately out of the showroom. Common sense was irrelevant. Only victory mattered. Owners who embraced it found exhilaration beyond measure, while those who underestimated it quickly learned a lesson in respect. Number 5. 1970 SS 454 LS6. The LS6 Chevelle represented the apex of Detroit excess. With a factory rating of 450 horsepower, it was the most powerful muscle car Chevrolet had ever sold, and the raw torque, combined with its mid-size body, made it a handful. Narrow tires and primitive suspension ensured that wheel spin was constant, and control required skill, patience, and respect. Onlookers could barely believe how violently the Chevelle launched off the line. Traction was a constant challenge, and any minor miscalculation could result in a tail-happy ride across the pavement. From a logical perspective, the LS6 was absurd power that high didn't belong in such a chassis, but that was the point. It wasn't meant to be reasonable, it was meant to be iconic, a car that exemplified an era when muscle manufacturers competed to see just how far they could push their engineering. To drive the LS6 was to flirt with chaos, and that danger is precisely what cemented its legendary status. Number 4. 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt was barely a street car at all. Ford built it with a singular purpose: dominate drag racing. Under the hood sat a massive 427 cubic inch V8, squeezed into a lightweight Fairlane body, stripped of any non-essential components. Comfort was non-existent, interiors were Spartan, and body panels were made from fiberglass to reduce weight. Driving one on public roads was risky, unnecessary, and frankly, terrifying. Every press of the accelerator reminded the driver that this car was born for competition, not convenience. The Thunderbolt wasn't about balance or practicality, it was a weapon. Dealers recognized the audacity of the design and often hesitated to promote it to casual buyers. Yet, on the strip, it became unstoppable, carving its name into muscle car lore and proving that Ford could bend rules and common sense in pursuit of dominance. Number 3. 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11. Turning a full-size family car into a drag strip monster was a bold, irrational decision, but Chevrolet went ahead anyway. The Z11 Impala was equipped with a 427 cubic inch engine and received extensive weight reduction measures, including aluminum body panels and stripped interiors, transforming what should have been a comfortable sedan into a pure, straight-line weapon. The Z11 was as impractical as it was terrifying. Every inch of the car reminded the driver and onlookers that it existed for speed alone. Handling, braking, and everyday usability were sacrificed entirely for the sake of acceleration. The logic of turning a heavy, normally sedate car into a quarter-mile rocket defied reason, yet the results were undeniable. For those lucky enough to drive one, the Z11 offered a glimpse into a world where winning eclipsed practicality and fear was part of the thrill. Number 2. 1967 Ford Shelby GT 500 Super Snake. The Super Snake was never designed to be reasonable. Carroll Shelby built it as a one-off, race-bred experiment, installing a 427 engine capable of producing around 600 horsepower. That much power in a 1,960 seconds Mustang chassis was almost criminal. The car was brutally fast, temperamental, and nearly impossible to control for the average driver. Dealers often struggled with the question of who could safely take ownership, and Shelby's creation was a living demonstration of what happens when engineering is pushed past common sense. Every turn, every acceleration, and every braking maneuver reminded drivers that this wasn't a car built for comfort, it was a machine built to test limits. A rolling proof that muscle cars could terrify as much as they thrilled. Number 1. 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. At the very top of this list is the Hemi Cuda, the ultimate expression of raw power over practicality. The 426 cubic inch Hemi produced 425 horsepower in a compact, aggressive body, a combination designed to overwhelm tires and driver alike. Traction control didn't exist, fuel economy was an afterthought, and insurance companies literally dreaded its presence on the roads. Yet all of that was irrelevant. Plymouth produced the Hemi Cuda because it could, and because for a fleeting moment, raw speed mattered more than logic, comfort, or consequences. Every launch, every gear shift, every mile down the street was an encounter with pure muscle car bravado. It wasn't sensible. It wasn't safe. It was legendary. The Hemi Cuda captured an era when engineering audacity, performance obsession, and sheer American ambition collided to create machines that would never be forgotten. These 8 muscle cars remind us that the era of raw American performance was not about compromise. Engineers pushed limits, manufacturers chased headlines, and dealers had to navigate machines that were often more dangerous than practical. From the low-end torque monsters like the Buick GS Stage 1 to one-off creations like the Shelby Super Snake, these cars were proof that muscle car history is built as much on audacity as it is on horsepower. They weren't perfect, They weren't logical, but they were spectacular. And they defined an era when power alone was enough to earn legendary status.